everyone. Your designers are here. I'm Anita Joyce with Cedar Hill Farmhouse.
And I'm Yvonne at Stone Gable.
And I'm Kelly of My Soulful Home.
We've got tips and tricks and decorating advice for you today, so let's get started.
Today is episode 63, Going Gray. And,
but we're not 63, though.
Nor
are we going gray.
Yeah, that's right. We're not going gray either.
We will not tell, and I will not tell. And it's all about your favorite gray paints today.
Yes.
Which sometimes we have paint in our hair, but it's paint.
I think it's
the paint in our hair.
Yeah, that's what it is.
A little sprinkle of paint.
That's right.
Excellent.
But that's what we're going to talk about today. Painting things gray is just so hot right now, and it has been for a couple years. And there's so many gray paints out there, just like there is every color. And today we're going to talk about our very favorites that maybe help you narrow down your search for gray paints just a little by hearing what we like.
And Yvonne,
excellent.
I want to add to that not just that they've been hot for a while, but I'm going to add, because I think this is important to know before we even talk about the gray paints, that I think it's really the new neutral. I don't, it's been hot for a while, but I don't see gray paint. I don't see gray color going out anytime soon. I just think it's, all the walls used to be kind of a beige color, and then people got tired of that. And I always like the gray because it adds a little bit of color, but it's still a neutral backdrop. So I think there's a lot of reason to be using gray. I think it's more interesting than perhaps maybe an off-white. So I really expect it to be around for a while. So if you are still waiting to get on the gray bandwagon, I don't think it's too late. I think it's still fine to jump on it.
Now, I have to say, I will
Oh, you disagreeing with me?
politely disagree with you there.
Okay, disagree away. You don't think it's going to be around, huh?
I'm not sure, but I think that the soft whites and things, they are definitely classics. The jury's out for me, although I am using some beautiful gray and white wallpaper in one of my bathrooms, a real nice geometric style. However, I'm just not sure about white. So this one I'm going to more moderate than I am probably going to add a lot to.
Oh, she's abstaining.
Well, I could never abstain.
Well, my jury has come in with a verdict, and it is
what's the verdict?
decidedly gray is a classic.
Yeah, see, I'm the odd man out here. I'm not saying it's not.
Well, you're biding your time. I get that.
And I'll just be very perfectly upfront with you. I am not a fan of a lot of gray. And there's a lot of grays
she's telling us what she really thinks, Kelly.
I really don't like, because some of them look purple, some of them look too
we're
blue.
Gonna straighten this all out
Yeah.
today. So let's dive in.
Dive into the pot of gray paint.
There you go.
And begin.
Hair?
I'll go last. So, Anita, what's your favorite gray paint?
Well, when we were building, which was, that was about 5 years ago, the house that we're in now, I wanted to go with a gray paint. It was really before everyone else before it was so super hot like it is now. And so I hadn't really seen a lot of gray on walls. So I did a lot of research, looked at so much paint. I mean, my eyes were crossing. There were so many choices. And so the point I'm bringing up is I did a lot of research before I came up with my favorite paint. And the paint is Agreeable Gray by Sherwin-Williams. And what I want to say is I have used it throughout my new house. My philosophy is I don't want 15 cans of paint in my garage. I just want one. And if it's good, well, the thing is, what happens is it's like you once you have one favorite, then that's what I want everywhere. So I just felt like this is my favorite, so I ended up using it everywhere. So there's there's a lot of continuity in my house, and I love it. I mean, and the reason I chose this one is it's got a lot of tan in it, so it's not a cold gray. There's no real purple undertones.
So it has more yellow in it.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mix between the it's a muted, it's warm, it's not a harsh. Some of those grays have too much blue in them, they end up looking very cold.
Yes, they do.
And unfriendly. So this
yes,
one's a warm
they do.
one. And so this is a very warm color. And the other thing that I like about it is that because I do have a country French or a farmhouse French style, I have a lot of things that are gold. I have a lot of Florentine things that have gold gilding on them. And the gold, when you put it next to some of these grays, it does not work. So you really have to make sure that you have a warm gray or you can't use gold. And so I knew I had so much gold in my house, I had to have a gray that was going to work well with gold. And this does because it's a very warm gray. So
and
that's
I
mine.
think if I was going to do gray, Anita, that's exactly what I would do. Grays are cool, but you can find some that are really warmed up. And I've heard that very much. I've heard that you said agreeably gray, right? Is
Agreeable gray.
Mm-hmm. Agreeable gray. I've heard that over and over again, and you can see it a lot on Pinterest. So it must be pretty popular.
I love it. Mm-hmm. How about you, Kelly?
How about you, Kel?
I find the whole idea of gray kind of interesting because when I was a little girl, the first house that my parents bought, so we were like 5, was from a lady called Mrs. Ball. And the entire house was a Cape Cod, so the entire house, inside and out, was gray. The shingles were gray, the walls were gray, the carpet was gray, she was gray, her dog was a schnauzer, was gray.
I assume you mean gray
That's
hair,
what
not
happens
a gray.
when you live with gray too long.
Gray hair?
Are you saying she had an ashen skin tone?
No, her hair was gray. Her hair was gray.
Okay.
But it was, and I remember my mom walking to this house, and it was a great school district and a pretty house and all of that. And so she could not wait to get rid of all that gray. And
It sounds like maybe it was a bit much.
It was a bit much,
Was
but
it kind of a bad shade of gray,
well,
perhaps?
whether it was, I just remember being a lot of gray everywhere. But the point being is that the gray was not in fashion then.
Right.
It was, avocado and orange and, and mustard and, all kinds of things like that.
She was a woman before her time.
Yeah, so she was probably before her time. But I remember when we were doing this house and I was picking out my shades of gray, I kept thinking about that house. And, it took some time for my parents to be able to afford to change out all the gray. So we lived with it, particularly that gray carpeting, for a long time. But, now Mrs. Ball would be like, so hot. It'd be like Elle Decor would be at her little Cape Cod taking pictures. So the palette for this house is white. Mostly everything is painted Simply White by Benjamin Moore. But I do have some rooms and some cabinetry that are painted in the gray tones. And I have come down to 2 gray wall colors that I absolutely love, and then a darker gray that I've used for accent, and even a metallic silvery gray that I used for a ceiling. And I love all those colors. I think gray is going to be a classic. I certainly have my fingers crossed. Sorry, Yvonne, that you are wrong, sister.
That's fine.
I don't want to repaint my house.
That's fine.
I like it. But, the thing is with going with, gray being sort of trendy is, sometimes it's just not going to work. And I'll tell you, gray would not have worked in my last house because my last house, it cried out for more autumnal colors and warmer colors. It was like a stone storybook house.
How did it cry out? I'm really missing that.
It cried out.
Doesn't your home speaks to you, Anita?
All the time. My
home
problem is
speaks to
everybody's
me.
house talks to me, and I always want to do something in them. But gray really worked here, and people thought of like when they said, "Oh, you're buying a Victorian. What colors are you painting the outside?" And I was like, "Oh, no. Having been here in all the dirty, messy chaos, I just wanted it to be white." So people would probably not necessarily agree with my choices for the exterior.
It's not historically accurate because they really weren't they called the Painted Ladies? It was like really bright colors.
But
On the East Coast, they are. I don't know about the West.
But it's more of a folk Victorian, so it's more farmhousey than really a painted lady. Yeah. So anyway, but let's go inside. And so what I chose is to use gray again fairly judiciously about all around the house. So I have a bit of gray in my formal living room, there was a kind of a chair rail molding, but way up high towards the top of the ceiling, and because the ceilings are super high there, so I painted that area Stonington gray. It had
Which brand?
Benjamin Moore Stonington gray, and they took down some sort of crumbly, water-stained wallpaper that was up there and replaced it with this gray, and it's a lovely gray. Both the grays that I'm going to wall paint grays that I'm going to talk about today really are true grays. It's hard to find a true gray, and what Yvonne was saying before is very accurate, that grays sometimes turn on the walls. Like all of a sudden you look like you're decorating a baby boy's nursery. It's baby blue or it's too green, because the undertones of gray are blue, green, violet, and taupe. So you want those undertones to work with whatever else you have going on in the room. You don't want them to clash.
Right.
So think about, like Anita was saying about her golds and whatnot. So that will narrow down your universe of grays, but it is a little tricky to pick the color because sometimes those undertones don't appear on the chip. Well, most likely they don't. But when you put it on the wall, it reacts with the light or whatever else you have going on in the room, and it's going to pull out more of the undertones. So my suggestion would be is try this Stonington gray. It's as true a gray that I could have found, as well as silver chain. My daughter's room is in silver chain, and we have another accent wall done in the silver chain. And pardon me, that's a little bit darker than the Stonington, but just a wisp darker. And both of them have stayed really true gray on the wall, and I love them.
Well, I have a paint that might work for Yvonne.
Ooh.
It's called Eider White, or Eder White, I'm not sure the pronunciation, with Sherwin-Williams, and that's what I have on all my cabinetry. First glance...
Oh, I love your cabinetry.
Well,
I do actually love that.
Okay, thanks. So at first glance, it looks white, but it has a slight gray overcast. So
now that would
might
definitely be a gray for me. You're right.
Okay, so yeah, so if you're doing, especially if you're doing a marble countertop, it goes very well, because if you go too bright white next to some of, well, for example, I shouldn't say marble. I have a white river granite, so it has a bit of brown in it, and the bright white next to it was going to make it look kind of dingy.
Right,
so I went with this Eider White, and it doesn't look so bright. So next to my countertop, it doesn't make my countertop look too dark.
Oh, gorgeous. Oh, I do love that. Do you know that name? Can think of the name that you dislike the most? And it's probably, is it tied into that kid at school that was just so obnoxious that, that, you could never name your child that because it would remind you of this obnoxious kid in school?
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
It'll make sense in a minute. I once, maybe this was about 5 or so years ago, went to visit a friend of a friend, and we went into her house, and her house was painted this hideous gray, and I never said anything, but it was so awful. It was like a purple gray, and then her accent pieces were gray and red. And it was just absolutely, I couldn't wait to get out of there. It was like so depressing. And, I thought to myself, oh, how do you say, I'd love to say something kindly to her, but what do you say? So maybe that's just like, I don't like gray because, that's what I think of every time I think of gray.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like almost a traumatic experience for me. And it's just like that kid that you could never name your child that because of the bratty, horrible, obnoxious kid that's named that same name. Well, for me, gray has that same effect.
So now we know she has like a traumatic memory.
Oh, you just got to work through it, sister.
You're going to have to go through some gray therapy or
they
something.
were so proud of this house and going on and on about how much they loved it. And, I was being polite and saying, oh, yes. But I'm thinking, oh, this is just awful.
Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. You know, we're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order.
You don't want to go with too harsh a gray. And I'm going to say that I think grays are really easy to kind of, I think they're much more difficult to work with
go bad.
than a white or a cream or a tan.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I can see that I think it requires a little more effort. So I understand that sometimes people put things with them that maybe aren't the best combinations or, you know, because it is, I think, more difficult to make that really work well.
I think what it is that it's harder to get the gray right. I have a post on my 2 favorite grays, which I'm talking about today again. And I think of all my blog posts, I've gotten the most consistent questions, and not only a comment on the blog, but then someone will email me, and I've gotten photos of people's houses and things like that because they're really in a quandary, and they'll have 12 different grays painted on the walls. But hearkening back to what Anita said earlier, I think gray is such a great basic neutral that when you get it right, and when as Anita said, and you want to create that flow in your room, so she's got the agreeable gray flowing throughout. I have mostly white, but then I have these 2 grays, which are very similar in tone to each other, flowing through my house. It's working beautifully, and you don't walk into any of my gray rooms or rooms with gray in them and go, oh, this is a gray room, like Yvonne did with this other house that she visited. It's just sort of a neutral, but I've gotten so many questions from people visiting the house too, particularly about the gray in my living room. People are always asking me what color it is. So I think people must either they think it's awful and they want to make sure never to do that, but I don't think
I doubt that.
They seem like it really it makes a small impact, but it's not the star. It is a neutral and a backdrop.
Well, here's how I'm handling. We are continuing to do this not a master hall bath project, and we do have Carrara marble on our sinks. And instead of just painting, and we have tongue and groove, sort of boarding and a nice cap on that, I'm doing a gray and white wallpaper. So I'm sort of dipping my toe into it.
Yeah.
But keeping a gray. There is a gray that if I would try, this is probably, there's two that I would probably try. And I've only seen it every time I go onto Pinterest, I can pick it out. And it's called Owl Gray, and it's Benjamin Moore. Okay. And it's very soft. It's almost a white, or like an off-white gray. And I've seen it mixed with 50% white. Mm. It's almost like your cabinets, Anita.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like
also very, very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then I have one that is very definitely gray, which is Kendall Charcoal. I love the richness of that paint.
Is it really dark?
Well, as you say, like it has a charcoaly look to it, slatey almost. But yeah, it's dark. I would see the only way you could actually use it on the walls in a room would be maybe a study, something like that. Mm-hmm. But way I've used
maybe that would be great, like on an island then.
Oh yes, it could be on an island.
I would do gray.
Yeah, on the bottom of an island.
Definitely,
it would be
great.
great.
And the darker on the island, I think would be gorgeous.
Yeah. So what I've done is I used it in our office, which is a small, narrow room, and it has a lot of great light. And I used the Kendall Charcoal for the desk that runs the length of the room, and then the cabinetry above it, and the pull-out drawers. Oh, and it's beautiful. It really is lovely. And then I used that one in the WC, in the water closet in our master bedroom. So that kind of just recedes. And it's just a really, really rich color. And I think,
I like that idea.
Yeah, used as an accent, I think whether you have gray, a lighter gray on the walls or not, it doesn't really matter. If you paired it with white, I think that would be really dynamic as well. Or like the wallpaper you're talking about, if you just wanted to have a little touch of something dramatic, maybe you use the Kendall Charcoal.
Well, I love one of my favorites is a Benjamin Moore Chelsea Gray, which sounds like maybe it's an in-between gray. It's not dark. It's not super dark, but it's definitely, I wouldn't put this on the wall. It's dark enough that I wouldn't put it on the wall, but it's not super dark, kind of medium.
How would you use it, Anita?
I would use this on an island or on cabinets if you want cabinets with some color. Or one of those, like she said, I am so in love with this look of the paneled study, and it's painted kind of a darker gray color or a blue. And so I think this would be great on the walls if you kind of had a paneled, like some picture frame paneling or something, maybe even in a dining room. I think
is it more towards a charcoal?
It's not that dark.
Okay.
No, it's not that dark. It's definitely kind of halfway between a white and a charcoal.
Okay.
Anita, I think you would love the Kendall Charcoal because it looks great with gold.
After this, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, it looks so great with gold because it has, a taupey, browny. It's not a cold gray, even though it's dark. It definitely has a warmth to it.
Oh.
Yeah, and this one, it's kind of a medium gray, and it definitely has some warmth, but it does not look brown. But, you were talking about your experiences with gray. I just happened to think about when my dad worked for Phillips 66 when I was a kid, and he loved working for them. I mean, it was a great company working for him. He did a lot with the painting, and for some reason, I guess there were like somehow that some of that extra paint ended up at our house. So, and I'm not. Really
I wonder how.
I don't know how that happened, but it seemed like every time there was something painted, it was always painted Phillips gray.
Oh, how funny.
So I don't know if you know what gray I'm talking about, but I had a little, my dad made me like a little armoire for my room when I was a kid, and guess what it got painted was Phillips gray.
Oh, how funny. Is that sort of what people would think of as like industrial gray? Like
it was pretty industrial. Well, think service station. So kind of on the industrial side. And yet I still like gray. Yeah, I'm not sure that was the best. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that was the best. Listen, it's great for a service station, but I'm not sure it was the best color for, an interior at that time. But that's what we had. So,
And that's
Well,
what
you know,
she
the
got.
more you talk about this, I probably wouldn't use gray on my walls, or I'd use it in very small doses. But definitely, I would have no problem painting a piece of furniture gray at all.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
great accent color. I mean, you can just use it for everything. So, I mean, just depending on what the right shade is that you need.
Oh, wow. Absolutely.
And are you a gray with an A or a gray with an E?
Oh, darling, it just depends on if I'm feeling British.
I know. It's so silly, right? But it seems more fancy
Well,
to
I
have it
grew
with
up-
an E, oddly enough.
I grew up writing it Grey. So whenever I do a post and talk about gray, I always have to think, okay, which one is it?
I think you can use either one, right?
I think now you can use either one
Okay.
here, too. But I don't know. So, somebody
Well,
might be
now
a
you can
stickler
end a
for it.
sentence with a preposition. So I'm just telling you, it's
Oh.
all changed.
Oh.
You
Oh,
can?
I
I didn't know that rule
Well,
changed.
when my book was being published, I was kind of in a rush in the end, and I kind of threw it to them, and it had several sentences that ended with prepositions, and I thought, oh, I guess they'll fix it. You know, they've got their editors, and
Right.
it came back, and they were all the same, and I'm like, what the what? I thought you were going to
Right.
fix this, and they said, oh no, that's okay now. I said, really? When did this change? Nobody told me. That's what they told me.
No,
So.
I make an effort not to do that.
Well,
I think I'm going to stick with it.
So apparently my book has them. So there you go.
I didn't notice. I loved your book
No,
so
I
much.
didn't
Oh.
either.
Well, but you
I
know,
have
when you
another gray way to use
Yeah.
gray, and it's
Okay.
a little jazzy. I may have mentioned this once before.
got your jazz hands out.
Got my jazz hands out. It's a little farmhouse glammy, but in my daughter's room, we did the silver chain on the walls, which honestly looks fabulous with the brownie, almost / orangey furniture that she has. Because she has
Did you say orangey?
orangey kind of. It's
Oh.
the furniture is antique furniture that my mom had. It was the bed that I started sleeping in when I was like 12. And I thought I'm probably going to paint that. I'm going to have a chat with my mom, and she's going to have to be okay with that. But it's, it definitely is brown, it's
Is
wood
it shellacked
stained,
pine?
but it's not pine. It's oak.
Is it
And it's-
shellacked, though, to give it that orangey look?
Well, it has that, this stain was more of that
Maybe it
orangey
yellowed over
look,
time.
Some
Some of that shellac,
No, it's
yellowed.
not
Turns
shellacked
orange.
from that. It's the stain that was chosen is
Okay.
much redder.
Right.
Redder in the
okay.
orangey department, And I thought, I'm going to have to change that. But the bed is spectacular and it's special. And I was like, I don't know if I can paint it. And then sometimes if you paint it, it just looks like, it might lose something in the translation. And so but we wanted to use the gray paint. And I thought, well, that'll just give you the answer. Because when I put the gray paint on, this is going to look terrible in the room. Well, it doesn't. It looks fabulous with this gray paint. And then all her linens are white and, gray, and it's so pretty. And I really was surprised how well the gray worked with that. But we wanted to do something interesting on the ceiling, and it's not a very large room. So we did the Modern Masters silver metallic paint on the ceiling.
Oh, I love that idea.
It just gives a little shimmer. You don't come into the room and think you're in a disco. And she has a vintage chandelier that was in the house, so it's very pretty. Or you could use any light fixture would be pretty, but something that has a lot of little candelabra bulbs is pretty spectacular because it
Do
reflects.
you have pictures of this ceiling? I want to see this ceiling.
Me too.
I know. I have to put her room on the blog. Every
And
time
you
I
know,
go in there, I'm like, I have to make the bed. And
No,
and
we
she didn't
tell
do
you,
it, and I
just-
have to put those
just
clothes
take-
away.
No, just take
Just
your
for
phone
us.
in there and send it to us.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
we never share that stuff, right?
Well,
Yvonne?
that's
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think that I would use that in my house. I think that sounds absolutely stunning.
does.
It
And
really
it's from
is
Modern
pretty.
Masters.
Modern Masters. You know, they do
Okay.
all those metallic
Yep, I
paints.
do- I knew
think they're-
exactly
Is this
what
like
you're
a,
talking
so
about.
is it what is it a pint, a quart, or not a
Yeah,
pint?
you just get the little cans. I guess it's a quart. But you can get the little testers that are super small. And I think their logo doesn't have like a peacock feather on it or something like that. So if you see the Modern Masters, some other people do metallic paints too. But I think you have to have them mixed and everything. These are just buy right off the shelf. And it really was easy to do. You didn't have to do anything different than you would with normal paint. And her
Did
ceiling...
you roll it on?
No, I brushed it, but
Okay.
again, it's not a very big ceiling, so you could probably roll it. And her ceiling has a little bit of like a texture to it, which is more prominent because of the metallic.
Right.
But it looks
that
pretty.
might be a good thing.
Yeah, it turned out to be a good thing. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. Go ahead, clean out your closet, then head straight to Quince. I love every item Quince offers, from wardrobe to decor, and I can really recommend their Ultra Stretch Super Wide Leg Pant at $49.90. The price is unbeatable, and the look is so flattering. It keeps you in on top and flares out of the bottom. Everything feels right with Quince. The price, the quality, and the sustainability. Quince offers a range of luxury wardrobe and home goods at prices within reach. And like Quince's clothing, their home goods are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. Once you've cleaned out your closet and refreshed with Quince, you can also add something to your home decor. So give your wardrobe and your home the refresh it needs with Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns on your next order. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. And let me know how you love those pants.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm wondering about the people that have the popcorn ceilings that they don't like. I wonder what it would look like if you spray painted it like with a silver. Would that
It would probably be cool.
It might, with some light on it. That might kind of, if you didn't want to play.
No.
Well,
that was the buzzer. No.
Well, I definitely would
says
recommend
no.
playing.
If you said spray paint anything, I'm like, yeah, try it.
You have to be careful with that because a lot of them have
That's going to make it
asbestos
look
in
more
it.
prominent. That's going to make it look like a moon surface, a metallic moon surface. I say get rid of them. Just get rid of them.
Well, yeah, but you do have to be careful because a lot of times it does have asbestos.
Yes,
so don't just go up there and
exactly
start scraping.
Well, can I tell you about one more? I've never tried this color.
Okay.
But all the, again, Pinterest, I can pick this out. It's called Revere Pewter.
Oh, that's a really good
yes,
one, too.
Yes.
Oh, see, I must, because it
heard
has,
that one.
now you call it taupe, I call it yellow. It's warmer. They must put a little like yellow in that because that's a primary color. And because although it's a cool color, it looks warm and it almost has a greige look.
Oh, okay. That
It's
sounds
not,
nice.
greige is gray and beige, like greige, but I think it's a little more towards the gray side, but I think I could probably live with that color.
I think we're turning her. I think we're turning her gray.
Ooh, okay.
I
And
still
I haven't.
see that violet, gray, blue.
Well, here, I want to say something about
house.
that. When you, Yvonne just mentioned, the different undertones and colors that might be in there. You can ask when you are choosing a paint, what is the recipe? What is going in here? And then you say, if they're putting a lot of cool colors in, you know that's going to be a cool gray, and those are the potential undertones that you may see.
Yes.
And then if they have things like either a taupey or a yellowy or some sort of brown in there, then you know it's going to be a warmer gray. So you may want to add, even if you look at it on the chip, you say, oh, yeah, this is a good one. Maybe ask what is going in here. You know, what's the recipe to make this paint color? And that might help you determine, oh, well, I have cool tones in this room. This might be a good one to use. I'll try this one. Or I have a warmer colors like Anita, and I want a warmer gray, so therefore I'm going to go with the browns and the yellows and the taupes.
That's a very good point,
Here's
Kelly.
one. If you're worried about the purple undertones, try the Horizon Gray with Benjamin Moore
Horizon
is one
Gray.
that does not have a lavender undertone.
Wow, so we came up with a lot of grays. I didn't know you were going to have so many. Even
Also,
Yvonne
I
came
know
up with
that
some
you
grays.
can cut gray with white, and that is a very, to get it a little lighter, a little whiter.
Softer,
Yeah, you could do that with any color, right? You can ask them 25%
Right, exactly.
white, 50% white. I've done that too with other colors in the past, but I didn't do that with these grays. So we will have all of these grays in the show notes. So if you're interested in having a nice list of potential grays, please visit us there. It's been so much fun today to talk about gray and have Yvonne maybe have a little change of heart as we went through.
I can feel it. I can feel it.
She's
But
like,
I do appreciate it a little more. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, yes, come along with us. Go gray. It's not so bad.
The water's fine over
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Exactly.
You can smoke that. It's fine.
Excuse me?
all this peer pressure.
Oh my God.
Oh, do you see what she's comparing us to?
I don't understand what she's talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so we want you to remember that we are here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time. Hey there. If you're loving our podcast like we're loving our podcast, we would love you to rate and review us. Head to iTunes to do that. It's easy and it would mean so much to us.